There's only one way forward about the bagpipes, and that's with a skirl.
We would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. This territory is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship, which Mi'kmaq Maliseet and Passamaquoddy peoples first signed with the British Crown in 1726. The treaties did not deal with the surrender of lands and resources, but in fact recognized Mi'kmaq and Maliseet title and established the rules for what was to be an ongoing relation between nations. This coming Thursday, September 30th, is, as you know, the first National Day of Truth and Reconciliation. October 1st is Treaty Day, and the entirety of October is Mi'kmaq History or Heritage Month. Now, as we celebrate tonight our membership at the University of King's College this evening and partake of the solemn oath that binds us all to this college, I would humbly ask all of us to remember those treaties and the promise they continue to hold for a different future. As an educational institution, as the many calls to action from the TRC report make clear, we at the university have a special responsibility to further the aims of reconciliation as an overall institution, to be sure, but also among and between us as peers, mentors, and friends. Walalan, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Flynn. Sarah, I'd like to begin by introducing our platform party, starting with Dr. Sarah Clift, who just led us in a land acknowledgement. Immediately next to Sarah is Dr. Peter O'Brien, who's our public orator, and until recently was our vice president, so we have two vice presidents in attendance this evening. Our registrar, Julie Green, who I know probably all of you know in the process of becoming King's students. Dean of Students, Katie Merwin, who I know all of you, if you didn't know her before, know her now. Our librarian, Janet Hathaway, the keeper of the matricula, which you see in front of the podium, and Ian Wittick, who's the current president of the Alumni Association, all here for all of you this evening. So I think you all know I'm Bill. I'm the president of King's College. It's just such a thrill to see you all here wearing your gowns and your masks, and it's a thrill to be with you. This is a second straight exceptional matriculation ceremony. Last year we did it online for everyone at once. Usually we're doing it in small groups of people. This year we're doing it by gathering two large gatherings of you with us here in Alumni Hall. Thank you for being here. I hope you enjoy and maybe even are inspired by the ceremony we have for you this evening. I'm going to be partaking or participating a little bit later, but for the time being, I call upon our public orator, Dr. Peter O'Brien, who's going to lead you through the matriculation process.
Thank you, President Leahy. Welcome to the ancient and solemn ceremony of matriculation, which marks your formal entry into the college as student members. This ceremony, a form of which has been celebrated for more than 2¼ centuries at King's and for many centuries longer at the great universities of England and Scotland, is named for the matricula, the large register that will record your names. In a few moments, you'll be asked to recite an oath in Latin to express your desire to enter the college and your willingness to observe its traditions. Matricula is in fact a Latin word for the register, which is just this big book. You won't be recording your names in this one, but this is in fact the original matricula of the college, which records names beginning in 1803, when the college received its royal charter. We use Latin, the universal language of learning in the West since antiquity, to remind ourselves that the community of scholarship we enter is larger than our own circle of friends, our college, and our country, as well as older, connecting us to the minds and spirits of generations past. Those minds and spirits are represented materially in our library, which houses the matricula, and their echoes are heard almost every day in this very room, Alumni Hall, where students can absorb, re-embody them, and give them new voice, accept them, reject them, or put them on critical probation in their conversations with each other and their tutors. In pronouncing a formula in a language once taken to be emblematic of universality and inclusion, we might reflect, too, on voices that have been left out, lost, or suppressed as we embark on a journey of learning that creates new knowledge in us, even as it makes us aware of what we don't or cannot know. So I'm going to ask you to repeat together each line of Latin after me, which I will read to you. You have the whole oath printed in text on your programs, but it will also be available in the screen behind me, broken up into the most digestible of little chunks to make the job a little bit easier. So are we ready? Okay. I wonder, we didn't discuss this, but I wonder if we could stand for this. Mhm. Okay, first word, ego. In universitate, collegii regalis. You've been practicing. It's clear. Discipulus sancte policior me. This is really awesome. It's like being in the ancient arena in Rome and being shouted at by fans. Legibus paritorum. Traditiones quae meliores, eius culturum, ita ut. Praeceptis eius, convivendi, eruditionis quae oboidiam, nec non ipsius, academiae dignitatem, atque salutem, quantum in me fuerit, per reliquam vitam, pro curaturam. That was amazing. Thank you very much. Scito vos in matriculum collegii hodie relatos esse et ad observandum omnia statuta hoc libro comprehensa quantum ad vos spectent teneri. Know that today you will be entered in the register of the college and are bound to observe all the statutes contained in this book as far as they concern you. Thank you, everybody, for your willingness to participate in this solemn ceremony and for doing it so well. I am going to ask President Leahy to return and to confirm your entry into the college with a further formula.
Just before we pass it back to President Bill, I'll just make a few comments regarding kind of logistics. Of course, you get to sign the current matricula, and it will be available according to the information that you've received in the foyer of the A&A building. So after this, if you would like to sign it right away en route to the reception, which will be on the second floor of the A&A, you can do that. We will be available between 6:30 and 8:30 for signing of the matricula this evening, and you will be able to come back to the registrar's office during normal office hours to sign the matricula at different times. Of course, all students are invited and very welcome and encouraged to attend us at the matriculation, attend with us. The matriculation reception, which obviously due to the weather and the rain, is going to be held indoors on the second floor of the A&A building and in the foyer up there and also in the boardroom. So please come join us to celebrate your ceremonial entrance into the college and enjoy some refreshments and light fare. Of course, we encourage you to continue to wear your masks as you do regularly around the King's campus. For gown return, for any day students who have borrowed an academic gown, you are reminded to return the gown outside in the foyer of this building as soon as you can. So again, I'd like to thank you all and welcome you all here. I will pass it over to Bill and just want to acknowledge those that are joining us through YouTube, through this live streamed event. It's wonderful to have you in person and as well to accommodate the students that are able to join us online.
There we go. Thank you, Julie. Okay, I know you all have the Latin and English, so you're very aware already that you've made some pretty heavy-duty promises. And I'm going to talk about those in a few minutes. But in a minute, and if you don't mind remain standing just for another minute, I know you've been standing for a while, I'm going to accept those promises on behalf of the university. And it's the one and only semi-mystical power you have when you're made president of King's College. By accepting your promises in the little bit of Latin that I have to do, you will become, voila, members of what Dr. O'Brien calls the collegii regalis. So are you ready for that mystical experience? You'll be very changed and different afterwards, okay? So I want you to be prepared. Okay, here I go. Sorry. There's a lot of moving parts to remember. Actoro tate mea admito vos discipulos in universitate nostra collegii regalis. Servete leges preceptaque, fovete traditionis ius praeclaris. What I've said is, by my authority, I admit you as students in our University of King's College. Keep her rules and precepts. Cherish her excellent traditions. You were already King students. Now you're really King students. So give yourself a round of applause. Okay, you can all have a seat. We're almost there, okay? And as did Julie, I think it's wonderful that family members and others are able to join in this ceremony, which is not typically the way things have been. So I welcome everyone who's watching and listening, and maybe trying to keep up with the Latin themselves. So that concludes the formal part of matriculation. Subject to the opportunity you now have to engrave your name in the matricula with all the other students who have done so since the 18th century. I think that's pretty amazing. But you are already now matriculated. You're officially members of the college, and I've welcomed you all, I think, at least 2 other times by now. So for a third time, welcome. I just want to offer a few reflections about the promises you have made that the public orator and I together have accepted on behalf of the university. First, I just want to observe how extraordinary it is that you have all started your university careers by promising in these individualistic times to serve or to be guided by the precepts of communal life and learning. Now, these may strike you as old-fashioned words, and indeed, they're pretty old-fashioned words, but their relevance and meaning has perhaps never been greater as we gather together in pandemic conditions. As we all know, the pandemic has vividly demonstrated our need for community based on love, care, and concern for others. And at the same time, how community depends on people caring for strangers and not just themselves and those they love. If you were at move-in day, and I know many of you were, I'm sure my speech is not the main thing you remember, but you may remember me saying that it will be up to you, like every other generation of King's students, to determine what these precepts will mean in your life. These words are constantly being given new meaning by new generations of King's students. You may also recall that I suggested we think of our precepts of communal life and learning as the commitments we make to each other, including, not exclusively, but including the practices we follow to keep each other safe and healthy so that we can keep our community together and thriving as we do our best to live and learn in pandemic conditions. Now, from a distance, admittedly, but nevertheless, I'm pretty sure my observations are accurate. You are already learning for and not solely with each other. And you've been doing that since move-in day. So I can say with confidence, you all already know what it means to serve the precepts of communal life and learning. And I look forward with my colleagues and everyone in the college to see how you will further define and give life to these precepts as you pursue your education at King's and Dalhousie over the coming weeks, months, and hopefully years. The larger point is that committing yourselves to these precepts, and by doing that, you have committed yourselves to each other and to the journey of mutual and reciprocal learning that you have embarked upon, a journey you take with each other and your professors at King's and Dalhousie. So if you pay attention to the words that you just spoke, you made promises to the university in form, but in action, you made promises to each other, because King's is its people. At the foundations of the institution of King's are the relationships that will change your life and stay with you for the rest of your life. Matriculation signifies this, in this year especially, by bringing so many of you together to take the oath together. A group of students who have started and will follow educational journeys side by side, enjoying the companionship and the triumphs of that, but also carrying each other burdens when that is called for. So each of you has also promised to care for the honor and welfare of the college. I don't know if you noticed that. And not just for a little while, but for the rest of my life. That also is quite and maybe even more extraordinary, at least if you take it seriously, which I hope you do. My response to you a few moments ago, to promising to take care of the college for the rest of your life, implies acceptance of that promise, but also a reciprocal promise. You would have noted maybe that I admitted you to be students in our University of King's College. And in that way, the language of matriculation signifies that the university now belongs to you as much as to anyone else. It is as much yours as past generations and the future generations that will come. It's as much yours as it is mine. And the language signifies that in addition to being students for a time, you are now lifetime members of the college. And that's the alchemy of matriculation. So in the spirit of that alchemy, I hope tonight helps you feel a little more like this is your community, your place, your people, your college. No matter how long your stay beyond this year may be, I hope you are on a path to perpetually thinking of this, and I love this phrase, collegii regalis, as yours and each other's. And I trust that you will always make your presence known and your voice heard in the college's present and future, now as students, and then as members of the Alumni Association, which, as is the case for so many things at King's, it's the oldest one in the country. I want to also recognize what I am sure you already understand, and what you probably understand, and what helped draw you to King's, that caring for the honor and welfare of the college is not the same thing as being expected to always praise or celebrate the college, though I hope in your time here you find much to praise and some things to celebrate. Caring also requires criticism when criticism is due. And to paraphrase or use a quote from Sarah Sharp, our most recent valedictorian from last May, I would say that caring for the welfare and honor of the college means understanding and accepting that criticism is an act of love. This means calling on the university to be better than it has been where it has failed or disappointed. This is and must be one of our university's excellent traditions that are referred to in the matriculation language. And I think it is very important to see this as well as harmony and concord in the beautiful words we have just spoken. And as going back to our land acknowledgement, this is particularly important as we prepare to observe the first National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, and as we reflect upon and work to improve our relationships with all of the communities who are underrepresented or absent from Kings, including the African Nova Scotian and the African Canadian communities. So you have made your promises, and the college now and in the future must earn the commitments you have made to its honor and welfare, and the trust that you have placed in the college by being matriculated. On behalf of the college, I promise you the college's dedication to this task. I also promise you that this will always be your place. You will always be welcomed here, and I hope that you will always want to belong and be proud to belong to Kings. So let's do all we can from this night forward to make this so, for your time as students and for the rest of your life. In other words, let it be the case that the college lives up to the promise that you have made. To seal the deal, and maybe for the third time, please do take the next step of putting your signature in the matricula, so that forevermore it will be clear to everyone that you were a student of our university and that you then continued as a lifetime member of our Collegii Regalis. So I hope this evening has been fun and that it will be fun, or at least enjoyable, and maybe even a little magical for you. And on your behalf, I want to thank everyone of the many who have had a hand in organizing and planning tonight's events. And I look forward to seeing you all at the reception on the second floor of the Arts and Administration Building. Thank you. See you there soon.